Hello and welcome to Live Well, your one-stop shop for healthy, happy living. Joining me is Felicity Harley and Chloe Maxell.
Hello.
Hi, ladies. Well, this week we're tackling health problems you can't ignore, like ageing.
Or foot and mouth disease, that's one I suffer from.
Mine's probably a bit more serious. I suffer from stress.
Stress, tough for everyone. Well, Chloe, what are you talking about today?
I'll investigate an age-old gripe us ladies seem to have with our men folk, and no, it's not the fact that they try to get out of doing stuff around the house, it's avoiding the doctor.
Pretty sure my husband has broken his foot. It's really sore and swollen and he can't walk on it properly, but he won't go see a doctor.
And I'm looking at asthma, which can be quite stressful. Does it end the dream of a sporting career?
I was first diagnosed with asthma at the age of 8 to 9. I didn't have the right information about it and how to really control it. That's why a few situations got the worst of me, unfortunately.
That's a hot topic one. But first, a few things are more alarming than chest pain, but it's not always what it might seem. We spent some time with ambulance officers to find out more.
Chest pain is one of the more common calls that we get. However, it's not always a heart attack. Probably one of the most common causes of non-cardiac chest pain is muscular problems, gallbladder. That's another very common cause, gastric reflux, that sort of thing, discomfort sort of in the epigastrium. We assume the worst until we can prove otherwise. There have been a number of incidences where people have presented with a toothache. They thought they had a toothache, when in fact they're actually having a heart attack. And that's why it's important that someone that's got gastric reflux, that sort of thing, we need to try and make sure that we can rule out whether or not it's cardiac or whether or not it's simply gastrointestinal.
To tell us more, please welcome GP Dr. Ginny Mansberg.
Hello.
Hi. Ginny, tell us, what are the first symptoms of a heart attack?
Well, if we're going from the textbook, we're looking at that really heavy, crushing pain in the centre of the chest, can go down the left arm, up into the jaw, often feel a bit breathless with it. But women in particular often don't go by the rule books, you know, we like to be a bit different. So we'll often get no pain at all, or just the pain down the arm, or just the breathlessness. So just because you haven't had chest pain doesn't mean, unfortunately, that you haven't had a heart attack.
Ginny, when people come into your doctor's room with chest pain, what's the first thing you tell them to do?
Depends on who they are. So if it's a 70-year-old bloke who comes in who I know has got blood pressure and cholesterol and comes in and goes, oh, I've had this chest pain for about 2 days and it's kind of getting a bit worse. I'm like, hello, let's just put you on some oxygen until the ambulance gets here. But if it's somebody who's sort of a 19-year-old girl who comes in and says, I've been getting these chest pains and breathlessness, of course, you have to jump on it, because anybody can have a heart attack, but statistically it's less likely. So it would really depend on the sort of person who's coming in and the type of chest pain they describe.
So leaving heart attacks aside, what else could the pain in the chest be?
Well, particularly if you're a young, healthy woman, really having a heart attack is less likely. And actually the most common thing is actually a problem in the cage that surrounds the heart. So it can be your muscles, your bones, your joints, all that kind of area. And the leading indicator is if it's kind of getting worse as you move around, or if you can touch a bit that hurts. You can't touch your heart, can't touch your lungs, so it's more likely to be what we call musculoskeletal pain. But also panic attacks. I don't know if you or any of your girlfriends have ever had a panic attack. It can definitely give you quite a lot of chest pain, breathlessness, look and smell, for all intents and purposes, exactly like a heart attack. But, you know, there are other things as well when you have chest pain, and one of them is heartburn.
Well, I actually have heartburn at the moment. It's funny you should mention. And I am a serial Googler. People call me Klugel, actually. And I got on there the other day, and now I think I've got peptic ulcers, hiatus hernia, all these different things, diabetes. What do you say to people that go down that route?
Well, normally pretty good, but Professor Klugel, you might want to head off to your GP if you think you have all of those things. Wouldn't sit on that one. Probably fairly unlikely for you to have the whole lot come on in a week. I think that'd be pretty unlikely. For most people, I reckon Google's a great thing. You know, your doctor gives you 5-6 minutes if you're lucky, and you've had some time to invest in really working out what your symptoms are. And empowerment in health is great, isn't it?
Chloe, what are your symptoms?
I've just got a real burning sensation in my throat. It kind of feels really acidic, and I've had it for the last few days. And I've never had heartburn prior to this. Normally, I only had it when I was pregnant. Lord forbid that's not the case at the moment. No, it's quite impossible. But that's the symptom that I have, and I don't know. Does diet play a big factor?
Look, it can. Being overweight, because you get a bit more pressure put on your stomach, so things are more likely to reflux up. Going back a bit, what it is with reflux is you've got this one-way valve that's meant to allow food from your food pipe into your stomach where there's a really acidic environment.
Is that the epiglottis?
No, the epiglottis is actually quite a bit higher.
I was being smart there.
I was impressed.
The gastroesophageal junction, actually, Professor.
God, okay.
I
So
say that too quickly.
hence why you're the doctor.
But basically, if that one-way valve goes, wrong and allows everything back up from the stomach into the food pipe, it's got a very acidic environment and you basically get a chemical burn of your esophagus.
So heartburn's normally caused by acidic foods, coffee. There are a few things that you can do to avoid it.
Absolutely. Well, once the valve has gone, it is gone. We can't really get it back again. So the name of the game really is to reduce the amount of, stomach acid going back up. So you want to make sure that you're not too acidic in your stomach. You want to avoid foods that make it worse. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, all chest pain can be a heart attack. And I'd prefer, as much as I love you, Chloe, not to be Professor Klugel sitting there with your chest pain and looking up all the possible things. You have to go and get medical attention because wouldn't we all feel terrible if somebody out there did have a heart attack and just went, oh, it's nothing, don't worry about it.
And it's the biggest killer in women, cardiovascular disease, and men as well. Well, Ginny, thank you so much for coming in. 1 in 5 Aussies experience heartburn at least once a week. If you're one of them, here are our own Live Well tips to managing heartburn.
Avoid junk food, too much alcohol, and eat smaller meals more often. Lying down with a full stomach can increase the chance of refluxed food. Elevate your head when you sleep. Gaviscon is a good defence when heartburn attacks. It works differently to some antacids because it contains sodium alginate, which comes from seaweed. Gaviscon forms a foam barrier or raft that floats at the top of the stomach, preventing acid from flowing back up into the esophagus and causing pain.
Coming up, Live Wellians, do your menfolk avoid the doctor? We'll try and understand why.
He won't go see a doctor. No matter how much I push him, he just won't go.
Our foodies are in with a mouth-watering but disgustingly healthy dessert alternative.
I want to share with you one of my all-time favourite recipes, vanilla bean cupcakes with lemon frosting.
Elka, there's nothing disgusting about being healthy. And after the break, sport and asthma. Can they play on the same team?
Play the sport you want to play. Don't let asthma sit in the way of that. Go for your dreams, and if you stay on top of it, it shouldn't be an issue in your sport.
Welcome back to Live Well. 1 in 10 Aussies are affected by asthma. It's a treatable condition and doesn't have to prevent you from being active.
We caught up with AFL rising star Adam Kennedy to see how he manages his asthma on the playing field.
I was first diagnosed with asthma at the age of 8 to 9. I didn't have the right information about it and how to really control it. That's why a few situations got the worst of me, unfortunately. I'm hoping just through my experiences I can pass on a bit of knowledge. I've been playing AFL for 3 years. Roughly the average distance covered in an AFL game would be about 13 to 14k. Before a match, I always take two puffs of my asthma pump, even if I don't think I need it. Mentally, I feel better for it running out onto the ground. I see you go for the Giants.
Yeah.
Good girl. Who's your favourite?
Callum Ward.
Yeah. Who's your second favourite?
You.
Yes, good work. So, Jasmine, do you get asthma?
Yes.
How do you go with that in sport?
I ask the coach to sit down or for a drink of water, and normally when I'm scared I just breathe deeply and it helps a lot.
I get a little bit wheezy a lot when I run too much and kick too much. It doesn't stop me. I just keep playing it.
Play the sport you want to play. Don't let asthma sit in the way of that. Go for your dreams, and if you stay on top of it, it shouldn't be an issue in your sport.
Now, there are some vital things you need to know about asthma, so please welcome Michelle Goldman, CEO of the Asthma Foundation of New South Wales. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, nice to be here.
Tell us some of the symptoms of asthma. Like, we know there's wheezing, we know there's tightness of chest.
Yeah, well, breathlessness and wheezing are the most common symptoms for asthma, but what a lot of people don't know is that a tightness in the chest or a persistent cough is another one, can also be signs of asthma. So we've often heard mums talking about the fact that their kids have had a cough for the last few weeks and they're not sure what it is. It could be asthma, and we'd encourage them to see their GP.
That's interesting.
Now, thankfully, I haven't been affected by asthma or anyone around me, but so I wouldn't know what to do if I saw someone have an asthma attack. What should I do?
Well, that's an excellent question, because everybody should know what to do when they come across someone having an asthma attack. 1 in 10 Australians have asthma. So whether it be at work, at school, out on the sporting field, anyone could come across someone having an attack. There's a asthma first aid that everyone should know. 1, calm the person and sit them down. 2, give them 4 puffs of their blue reliever medication, and preferably through a spacer. 3, wait 4 minutes, see if they have any improvement. If not, give them another 4 puffs. And 4, if there's still no improvement, call an ambulance straight away. We commonly say to people, you can live without air for only minutes, so it's really important that you respond quickly.
I was getting asthma when I was swimming, and I still occasionally get it now when I'm sick. Just what you were saying before, the tightness of the chest. What other sports are good? We know swimming is great for asthma.
Well, the only sport you can't do if you've got asthma is scuba diving. But we would strongly encourage you to take up all other forms of exercise. A healthy diet, regular exercise are really important parts of good asthma management.
And carry your puffer around at all times. That was the other thing that I thought was interesting, that 9 out of 10 users of their puffer aren't using it correctly.
Well, that's correct. Up to 9 in 10 people aren't. And what that means is they're not getting the full benefit from their medication. So they're probably still putting up with symptoms unnecessarily. So we would really encourage people to make sure they're using their puffers correctly. They can view the instructional videos the Asthma Foundation has on their website, or the next time they're going to the doctor for a review or their pharmacist to pick up a new puffer, they should ask the pharmacist or the GP too.
I feel like lots of kids have asthma. Is this something we grow out of as we get older?
That's a bit of a myth, but the one thing that does happen is asthma changes over time. So there might be times of the year when your asthma is worse, times of the year when your asthma improves. But even if it does improve and you haven't had symptoms for quite a long period of time, it doesn't mean that it won't cause you problems later on in life. So the important thing is to make sure you're aware of the symptoms, and if you ever experience any, you've got medication on hand.
Thanks, Michelle, for coming in.
My pleasure.
This week, hop onto our website to find out how to improve indoor air quality for asthma sufferers.
I'm pretty sure my husband has broken his foot. It's really sore and swollen and he can't walk on it properly, but he won't go see a doctor. No matter how much I push him, he just won't go. I don't know how to get him there.
Stay tuned, Janet. When we return, we get some much needed advice. And later, little kids with big fevers will investigate what's best practice.
Young kids don't have immunity to over 100 different cold viruses.
Hi, Live Well. I really hope you can help me. I'm pretty sure my husband has broken his foot. It's really sore and swollen and he can't walk on it properly, but he won't go see a doctor. No matter how much I push him, he just won't go. I don't know how to get him there. He needs to get a cast on or his foot's going to heal wrong. Can you help me?
Janet's not the only woman to experience this phenomenon. A survey of more than 44,000 GP visits has found that 1/4 of Australian men have not seen a doctor in the past year, compared with just over 10% of women.
I think my husband is one of them. So he played in the AFL 2008 grand final and he got knocked out, and ever since he has had neck and shoulder pain and complains about it all the time, and he doesn't go and get it checked out. It's been 6 years, Chloe. I am so frustrated.
Oh, any excuse not to hang out the washing, I bet. Anyway, I think this next package is a good example of why, when it comes to health, men are from Mars and women just so sensible.
Well, to help investigate this phenomenon, please welcome back Dr. Ginny Mansberg.
Hey.
Hi, Ginny. Now, are we being a bit harsh on our fellas? Is this a bit of a female myth?
That the blokes don't go to the doctor?
Yeah.
Well, that data actually really surprised me, that you were saying 25% of guys only don't go to the doctor within the last year. I would have thought it was 50% or more. They are like a threatened species in my waiting room. I never see them there. Where are they?
How do we get them there?
Can you guys do the booking of the appointments? Because they're not going to do it on their own. It's all like too hard because it involves like picking up the phone and all that kind of really difficult stuff. They don't find us, you know, particularly attractive, and they don't find us particularly fun to go and hang out with, because we always have these boring messages like, you know, eat better and exercise more and stop drinking so much, and that's not fun to listen to. And I guess that's part of it, and also I just can't be bothered.
Well, we've both got husbands that have a background in professional sport. Now, funnily enough, my husband loves going to the doctor. He's, you know, had many, many surgeries. In fact, when I first met him, we were driving around Sydney and he gave me a morbid tour of each hospital. That's where I got my shoulder reconstruction. That's where I got my knee reconstruction. He's a bit of the bionic man. But Fliss, on the other hand, your husband he won't go to the doctor.
No, No, he doesn't. He hates it. And I actually asked him, I said, why won't you go? And he said, because I have to pick up the phone and make an appointment. They were his exact words. And, I can't find time. That's the other thing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, really, how? What do we do? Do we make the appointment?
Absolutely, and then hound them. Did you go? You know, don't forget the doctors today at 3 o'clock. You have to go, and you've got to hound them. And maybe go with them so you actually listen, because London to a brick, they're going to turn up at the doctor, ignore everything that we've said and come out and go, oh, she said everything's fine, I don't need to do anything.
Women are sort of brought up to understand going to the doctor a lot. You know, you've taught about birth control and from a young age and so on. Are men just a bit more stoic than women, do you think?
Well, yes, but we know that from studies, because studies have actually found that men do feel less pain. Despite the fact that we bag them out about man flu all the time, they actually are more stoic and do feel less symptoms than women, that is for sure. But I think you're right. I mean, as girls, we go to the doctor quite young to talk about puberty and problems with periods and then problems with contraception. So we're used to the whole idea of going to the doctor. It's quite a big step for a bloke to start doing that, especially if he doesn't feel that sick.
And especially in the mentality where boys it's a lot of, oh, she'll be right, mate, I'll be okay, man up.
Yeah.
I wonder if that comes into
Suck
play
it up
as well.
Yeah. Often, yeah.
So what are some big health problems affecting men at the moment in Australia?
Look, the number one is still heart disease. I mean, it's still the biggest killer of men in Australia. But there are other things like, you know, cancers, and it's not just the prostate cancer, it's all forms of, you know, lung cancer in smokers, bowel cancer, really common. Diabetes, again, it's this silent epidemic in men, because actually more Australian men are obese than Australian women. Women are always on a diet. Men just sort of love their gut. They all think that they look fantastic. And all of the obesity-related diseases.
They do work hard on it.
Yes, they feed it lovingly. And then it's all your arthritis, and they get all the coughs and colds that we get as well.
Mm-hmm. So, Ginny, what are some things that men should be getting checked up regularly?
You know what, unlike women, who we recommend have regular mammograms and regular pap tests to kind of avoid breast and cervical cancer, or at least detect them early, we don't have regular screenings for men, that's for sure. So we do know that, you know, when you turn 50 from the government, you'll get a little happy birthday present, which you go and scoop out of the toilet and send that off to have a look for bowel cancer, men and women. Doesn't involve a trip to the doctor. So in terms of working out your individualised screening, we actually would tailor that to your family history and to your risk. So if you're a big bloke, particularly if you have a strong family history of diabetes, we'd want you to go to the doctor and look for diabetes, because you're not going to know necessarily. Similarly, if somebody in the family has high blood pressure, or you sit around all day and you're a smoker, we'd want to check for blood pressure. But that wouldn't be necessarily a problem for your husband. So we would definitely just look through your family history and tailor the kind of test that we would do to you.
What about, sorry, I just thought of something else I wanted to ask. Hormone replacement for men. Have you heard about that?
Major out there dodgy brother stuff.
Dodgy brothers, okay.
definitely not on the to-do list in my practice.
Okay, good thing we cleared that one off.
Okay, so I don't have to nag Tom about that one at least. Thank you.
Depart that one for now.
Thanks so much, Ginny, for coming in. Men's Health Week is the 9th to the 15th of June. Now, fevers are common in young kids, but how do you know when it's serious? Stick around because we've got some great help on how to handle child fevers.
I like fevers because I get lots of TV when I'm sick.
Next up, the Live Well foodies bake a scrumptious cupcake. Hard to believe, but it's completely sugar-free.
Now, we all know that there's sugar addiction sweeping the nation, so we want to offer you a healthy alternative for those desserts we all know and love. Hi and welcome back to Live Well. Today we're talking about health problems that we can't ignore. Now, we all know that there's sugar addiction sweeping the nation, so we want to offer you a healthy alternative for those desserts we all know and love.
I'm the first to admit that I have a massive sweet tooth, so I want to share with you one of my all-time favourite recipes, vanilla bean cupcakes with lemon frosting. So let's rip into it. What we start with is 6 eggs and half a cup of coconut flour. So simply crack those eggs into a large bowl.
What I love about this recipe is so quick and it's so easy. Guys, this is perfect for your kids' birthday parties. It's gluten-free and apart from some natural sugars, it's sugar-free.
All right, so I've got my 6 eggs. I've got half a cup of coconut flour, which I'm just going to place into the bowl here. Perfect. Now, your next job is to whisk this up at high speed for 3 minutes. Let's get into it. And there you have it. It is looking absolutely perfect. Now, the next thing you need to do is combine all the other ingredients together. So, we've got some rice malt syrup, which is a pretty much fructose-free form of sweetening your food. So it's not going to spike your insulin, which can, at times, lead to excess fat storage in our bodies.
Another great natural sweetener is dates. We don't rely on processed sugar, so we're looking for those natural sugars, and dates is definitely one of those.
Exactly right. I've just chucked in some coconut oil in there. We've got some coconut milk, just about 2 tablespoons if perfect, a pinch of bicarb soda in there, and some apple cider vinegar. Now what that's going to do is it's going to help it raise, because you want these to be nice and fluffy out of that muffin tin. And just lastly, what I'm going to add is some freshly scraped vanilla bean. Now this is straight from the pod. Beautiful. And if you don't want to use that, you can actually use vanilla essence or vanilla extract and you can find it from any local supermarket. So that's an option as well. Now the last thing to do is to whisk that all together. Perfecto. It is looking phenomenal. So, last job here, just get your muffin tray out, and what you're going to do is just spoon a little bit of this mixture into each tray, like so. These are going to be delicious. I can't wait.
Good job, Lukey boy.
I got to say, I love a little bit of a sweet treat, and when I discovered healthy cooking like this, I realised that you can actually have that sweet treat without, you know,
without the guilt and the health problems that come with it. So it's a really good, clear message that we want to get across, that you can actually have great tasting desserts and sweets without all the added sugar and without the health problems associated with it.
Well, I'm going to chuck these in the oven for about 25 to 30 minutes or until golden brown. And a little tip to know when they're ready is you stick them with a toothpick or a skewer, and if it comes out dry, you're good.
All right, I'm going to get on with the lemon frosting, and just as easy as that was for Luke, this is just the same. So guys, we've got half a cup of coconut oil in here.
Very good for you. It's a bit of a superfood, coconut oil. It's a great source of energy.
The zest of a whole lemon. A little bit of lemon juice.
Beautiful.
It's going to be really nice and tangy, this one.
Plus added vitamin C benefits from having that lemon in there. It's great.
Some rice malt syrup. Again, guys, if you want to use maple syrup, that's absolutely fine.
I'm salivating just thinking of this icing. It is the best frosting. Whew.
Bring it on. Some coconut flour, 1 tablespoon, and 2 tablespoons of coconut milk to finish. Now guys, once you've whisked it, if it's a little bit wet, you can add a little bit more coconut flour.
Now bring that together, the magic button.
Give it a bit of a shake. How's that looking?
That looks perfect.
Cool.
Beautiful. Pour that in there. Excellent. Give it a little bit of a scrape out, get everything from in there. And what you do with this is you set it in the fridge to harden up. By having coconut oil in here, when it's at room temperature, it's going to be quite runny. So put it in the fridge and it'll get to the perfect consistency.
And also a little tip, when the cupcakes come out, let them cool completely to room temperature before you put the icing on top. If the cupcakes are still a little bit warm, the icing will melt, so just bear that in mind.
Well, you know what? I think those cupcakes are ready, so let's get them out and get plating up.
Oh, hello. They look unbelievable.
Oh, how good. Golden on top and still nice and moist. They look phenomenal. I'll go get the icing.
Beautiful. Well, guys, this is a classic example how you can sweeten your desserts without using refined sugar.
And here we go. This is my favourite part. I got to say, getting a big scoop of that icing.
Unbelievable.
Getting it there on top, just like that.
I reckon you could do that in one loop.
I tell you what, I could. Decorate it with a little bit of that lemon zest. And there you have it, our vanilla cupcakes with lemon frosting. Doesn't get much better than that.
Thanks, Scott and Luke. I think there'd be a lot of hair pulling and tears over those cupcakes at kids' parties.
And adults.
And adults. Coming up, the wonderful world of germs. Have you ever realised how beautiful they can be?
Plus, have you ever experienced long nights sitting up with a feverish toddler? Yes. We'll help to get you all back to sleep.
Well, welcome back. We've both got little ones under the age of 1, and I don't know about you, Felicity, but I'm so surprised at how often babies become sick in that first 12 months.
Well, thankfully, mine is just past 12 months, but most young children will get on average between 5 to 10 viral respiratory infections a year, double the number that affects adults.
We've consulted the experts to find out what actually happens when young kids become sick.
Most young children will get an average between 5 to 10 viral respiratory infections a year, double the number that affects adults. Young kids don't have immunity to over 100 different cold viruses. It's okay if our bodies get hot when we get a cold. It's just showing that we're fighting nasty germs who want to make us sick. When we get really hot with fever, it makes us feel horrible and grumpy. And we have to drink stacks of water. I like fevers because I get lots of TV when I'm sick.
Oh, so cute.
Oh, I just want to give them all a big bear hug.
Just gorgeous. When your child is sick with a fever, it can be a bit scary. Well, here to help is paediatrician Dr. Matthew O'Mara, Director of the Emergency Department at Sydney Children's Hospital, Randwick. Hello.
Hi there.
Thanks so much for coming in. Tell us, I guess the first thing that Felicity and I want to know is what is the biggest thing that causes a temperature?
Kids get fevers very commonly. It's pretty common for a child in daycare to get about 1 febrile illness per month. And sometimes they cluster together. You go from one to the next, and then you'll have a good run.
So hold on, let me clarify. So getting sick once a month for a young child is normal?
That's normal.
Why is this happening?
Because they're just getting exposed to lots of different infections, mainly viruses, that'll make them a bit sick for a few days and then they'll get better.
Okay.
So I want to know, so I've been to, so Jimmy's 14 months and I've been to hospital twice already at 6 months and about 8 months because his temperature went up, well, once it went up to 40 and the next time it went up to about 39, but then he started vomiting. So of course, being the mum that I am, I freaked out and I was quick, in the car, let's go to hospital. I just never know how to assess him. Can you tell me a bit about this ABC method?
Yeah. Like many parents, you're worried about how high a temperature is. But there's no such thing as a dangerous temperature. The temperature doesn't tell you how unwell a child is. It just tells you they've got an infection of some sort. How you tell how sick they are depends on what they're doing, what they're like. And there's this lovely, simple system that I talk to young doctors and nurses about, and parents frequently, called ABC, fluids in and out. And ABC, fluids in and out, is A for arousal and activity. How awake, how active, how responsive is your child? B is for their breathing. How quickly are they breathing? when you pull up their shirt, how quickly are they breathing? Is their chest sucking in and out? Does it look like it's easy or not? C's for their colour. Are they pale or are they mottled? Fluids in, are they drinking about half the normal amount or less? And fluids out, are they doing a wee about 4 times a day?
Wow, that's really interesting that you said temperatures really don't mean a lot. I was under the impression that once a child hits 40 degrees, you should take them to hospital. So you're saying that's not the case?
There's no such thing as a dangerous temperature. They'll probably feel a bit unwell when their temperature's that high, and that will affect how active they are and how they're drinking. We're trying to assess what they're like, not just at that instant, but what they've been like over the last few hours and what they're going to be like over the next few hours.
Wow, that's great, isn't it?
So I want to know, what's the best place to take a temperature? I never know whether it's under the arm,
Okay, there's lots of different ways of taking a temperature. What we tend to use in the hospital now is just a digital underarm thermometer. Okay, one of those things that goes beep after a minute or so.
So they're better than the ones that I've got one of those ones that you hold on the forehead.
And I've got one that go in the ears.
Yeah, there's lots of different ways of doing it. The forehead ones aren't particularly good. The ear ones are meant to be more accurate, but in fact we've found there's a whole lot of variation. You'll know if you'll zap it a few times in a row, you'll get different readings and you go, the temperature's not really changing that much. What also is good is just putting your hand on their forehead. Do they feel hot? Because the absolute temperature doesn't matter so much. It's how the child is.
Okay.
Temperature just tells you they're a bit sick.
Right, so being lethargic, not wanting to play, not drinking, not eating a lot and a high temperature is enough to go, right. The next question is, do we go to the doctors or do we go to the hospital? How do you know which one to distinguish?
Very young babies under 3 months of age who've got a temperature above 38, I think they're best managed in hospital.
Okay.
Those young babies can get sick quite quickly with unusual bugs, and we usually need to do a number of tests and watch them for a day or 2. Kids older than that, you can be progressively less concerned. The kids do more, and they get older, they can tell you what's going on as well. And you'll have months and years of experience to work out and get that sense of trust about, yeah, my judgment's okay. And I think when should you go to hospital? Trust your instinct. If you're really concerned about your child, get them looked at, okay? And a hospital may be the only thing that's available. Your GP is really well positioned, though, to assess your child and has got the great advantage of being able to see you later that same day, to call you the next day to see how things are going.
Yeah.
Whereas hospitals, we're good at looking after an instant of care, but not very good at looking at that ongoing care.
So when I was younger, my mum used to chuck us all in the bath when we had a fever. Is this a good way to deal with it?
There's lots of things your mum probably did that were right. Putting kids in a cold bath when they've got a fever doesn't really help that much. If the bath's a bit too warm, they'll get hot, and if it's too cold, they'll end up shivering and make their core temperature higher. So it doesn't really lower their temperature. But the focus isn't on lowering the temperature. The focus is on trying to make the child feel more comfortable.
What about the fit? I'm always worried that, I suppose with Jimmy, when he was getting to 40, I've heard that once they get to 40, they can start fitting. I wouldn't know what to do.
Convulsing.
Convulsing.
Yeah. Some children will have a fit with a fever. Okay, it's about 1 in 25 kids. And that tendency will often run in families, so mum or dad might have had that when they were kids. Fits with temperatures, they're really worrying for a parent, but they're not harmful. Most fits will stop within a minute or 2
Oh, so
all by
that's
themselves.
not enough to take them to the hospital?
Yeah, I'd go to hospital.
Yeah,
I'd go to hospital.
You're pretty relaxed about all of this.
Yeah. So what do? We'd usually tell the parent, lie the child on their side, wait for a few minutes for the fit to stop, because they'll only last a minute or 2, and call for help when you need to.
Perfect.
And the first time that happens, that's probably straight away. And if your child has got a tendency to do this a few times, which a small number of children do, that parent will get more and more familiar with it and more comfortable just waiting and watching and letting the fit stop, rather than trying to throw a fitting child in the back of a car and driving madly.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Matthew O'Mara. Both Lucy and I really appreciate you coming in and talking to us.
Pleasure.
When your children don't feel well, it's hard not to feel a tad stressed by it all. Here are our own Live Well healthy tips to help you give medication for fevers.
Offer plenty of fluids to avoid dehydration. A fever will cause a child to lose fluids more rapidly. Make sure your child's bedroom is a comfortable temperature, not too hot or too cold. When calculating correct medicine dosage, it's better to use your child's weight rather than their age. Always check the box for instructions. Ibuprofen is medicine contained in Nurofen for children, which starts to work in 15 minutes and lasts up to 8 hours. It blocks the production of pain-causing enzymes, bringing fast, effective relief. And with all medication, make sure they're stored somewhere safely out of reach of little fingers.
Coming up next, so you thought your hands were clean. We'll show you why you might need to think again. Welcome back to Live Well. Some germs are good and some are bad. Here to explain the difference between the goodies and baddies is our Live Well blogger, Rowena Newman.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
So, the good, the bad and the ugly of germs. Well, we all know the good ones, right? So the little pots of acidophilus that we drink every morning to make sure that our insides are healthy. And then there's the bad ones, but we try not to be too neurotic about the bad ones because we know that our kids have to flex their immunity muscle. And then there's the ugly ones, right? So the ugly ones are the ones that mean that we get diarrhea and vomiting and all those horrible things that mean that we can't go to work and our kids can't go to school. And often these ugly kind of illnesses that we get from the ugly germs are caused by not hand washing properly. So I don't know if you think that, do you think you wash your hands properly?
I don't know. All I do know was that I was put off biting my fingernails in school because I watched a documentary on the tiny microorganisms that live on your fingernails in science, and that put me off ever putting my fingers anywhere near my mouth. And I'm trying to find that video so I can make my stepdaughter watch it so she stops biting.
Biting her nails.
I probably don't wash enough.
So I read a stat last week that 95% of people don't wash their hands properly.
That's exactly right. It's terrifying.
Terrifying.
Right?
How do we do it?
So, first of all, okay, my props that are already here, you have to wet your hands, okay? So get the water on there and then you need to use soap, okay? So put a little bit...
You actually have to wet your hands first.
Yeah, you have to wet your hands first under the
Simple,
tap.
really.
Yeah.
And then it's very interesting, Chloe, because you've got to lather really carefully and especially around the fingernails because that is actually where all the microbes are concentrated under there. Yeah, so you've got to get in there and go between the fingers, on the backs, on the fronts, and you actually have to scrub for 20 seconds. So it's longer than you think. And if you don't know how long 20 seconds is, apparently if you just hum Happy Birthday or the chorus of Happy Birthday twice, it'll get you to 20 seconds.
Right, because you have time to do that when you've got kids running around, right?
Quick, get out of the public toilets. So, and then you have to use running water, fresh running water, please.
Oh my God, this is hilarious.
Thank you.
So then you need a pourer next to you at home.
You need a pourer, that's right. And then you rinse it all off.
A nice little jug.
Because the soap has lifted all the germs off and then the water is washing it away, basically. And actually, if your hands are clean but still wet, you're much more able to have germs transferred back onto your hands if they're wet. So it's really important, actually, that you dry them. So a towel is one option, or the hot air dryers, in the public change rooms and things. And then you've got lovely, clean, properly germ-free hands.
So you wouldn't drink that water now, though, would you?
Probably not. Probably not. Hopefully my hands weren't too dirty, but no. Yeah.
So how often should we wash our hands?
We should wash our hands whenever we go to the bathroom or after we change babies' nappies, because I think most of the germs that are transferred from our hands and cause diseases like, gastrointestinal upsets and diarrhoea come from human faeces or animal faeces. And just 1 gram of human faeces contains trillions and trillions of germs. So yeah, you've got to be really careful and make sure you're washing your hands after you go to the toilet.
And often you forget these things when you've got little ones and you're running around, especially if you've got a couple in nappies and you sort of forget and then you sit down and go, oh.
Actually, another...
What was that?
Another place that
forgot about that.
Scares me is when you go to the gym, and if you're running on the treadmill and you put your hands on how you test your heart rate, that always freaks me out.
It gets sweaty and
it's gross.
dirty.
After every gym session, I'm like...
With the procedure you just showed us then, and the reason I asked you have to wet your hands first, I always put soap on my hands first. And then I use the soap and then I use the water after
So you're not using any water when
No,
you're lathering?
I put the Dettol on first, the soap on first, and then I use the water. not the other way around. You watered first and then you did soap.
Oh, well, I think as long as you've got the water and the soap while you're lathering so that you're lifting all the oil and the germs off your hands before you rinse it away, I'm sure that's fine.
I mean, it's such a simple thing and it's really easy to do, but so many of us don't do it.
Exactly, and that's why this week we're doing an honesty poll on the Live Well website where we're asking all of the viewers to go online and honestly answer the poll about whether they're washing their hands properly after they go to the toilet.
I think we should do a quick poll here.
Yes.
Well, no, by what you just said.
I wash, but definitely not that long. I'm probably about a 3-second in and out.
Same, I know. So now I'm going to make a concerted effort to go full 20 seconds.
Thanks for coming in, Rowie. Well, the days are getting shorter. We're getting into our PJs earlier as the winter cold takes hold. For me, it's chocolates, doonas and big hugs. So join us next week when we'll look at how you can survive some of the other fantastic winter goodies. Cold and flu, congestion and sore throats.
Lock sinus feels very congested, like your head is really kind of foggy and full.
Plus sunlight. How much do we need and are you getting enough? There tends to be a growing trend in men wearing G-strings lately. Is that helping them get?
I think both things are definitely not on the doctor's prescription pad, although, you know, feel free, I don't judge.
And we'll look at improving your happiness. Let's face it, we'd all like a bit more of that stuff.
Mangoes make me happy. They're tasty.
What makes me happy is when my girlfriend's happy.
Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.